Money Talks with Ed Marshall is underwritten by First NBC Bank.
Well, hello and welcome to Money Talks. I'm your host, Ed Marshall. It's hard to believe it's already November, and do we have a show for you? We're going to begin the show right after this commercial when we tell you about a new airline that's coming to the area. It's not only attracting buzz in the metropolitan area, but also neighboring states and across the pond. We'll tell you more when we come back.
Mondays at 6 p.m. on WLAE.
Well, welcome back. I'm always delighted to have on the show and to share with you information from the man to my left, and that's Mr. Michael Hecht. He is the president and CEO of Greater New Orleans, Inc., and welcome back.
Ed, great to be here.
Good to see you.
Always good to see you.
We're talking big economic news here. We're talking about getting out there and flying the wonderful blue skies. Super announcement concerning British Airways and New Orleans. So the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. I think this is actually huge news for New Orleans, for the region, actually for the whole Gulf Coast. For the first time since 1982, we're going to have a direct, nonstop air service between New Orleans and Europe. Starting on March 27th next year, you're going to be able to get on a plane at 9:10 at night here in New Orleans. It's going to be a 787 Dreamliner, the most advanced plane in the world today that flies at higher humidity, lower pressure. You're going to land at noon the next day in London Heathrow and be able to go to 130 destinations around Europe, the Middle East, or Africa. 4 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday.
Oh, wow.
And we just think this is a game changer.
It totally is. And we talked earlier, you have people from other states already saying, we're booking, we're going to drive into New Orleans.
Well, that's right. One of our main partners on this was Mobile, because the folks from the Mobile Area Chamber said that our executives who are going over to Europe for companies like Airbus or Mercedes would rather take a luxury bus service from Mobile into New Orleans and then fly direct to London Heathrow instead of having to connect through Atlanta or Chicago O'Hare as they currently do. Folks from Pensacola are excited. Folks from Lafayette are excited because the reality and what we sold to British Airways is that we don't have a major international airport within 300 miles. Right? We've got Houston is the closest one.
Right.
So for everybody that's within our large catchment area, this now means that Europe is now much closer for business, for tourists, for conventions. And in a global world, being connected in a direct way to global hubs is kind of a binary, right?
Right.
Either you're in it or you're not in it. And for the first time in 4 decades, I think, Ed, we're back in it.
And you led to my next question. This is going to certainly take a lot of headaches out of it for tourists who come. A lot of folks from across the pond come here to New Orleans. This is going to really make them happy as well.
Well, it makes it so much easier. And if you're a UK tourist, what it means now, instead of going to Atlanta and driving in, or Houston and driving, which is what a lot of them did, about half, now you come here direct. And it's not just New Orleans. You can do New Orleans, but then you can do the plantation tour, right? You can go all up and down the river. Then you can go out to some of the most beautiful beaches in the world, out in Pensacola, out towards that way, towards Destin. Then you can hop on a cruise ship because we have one of the fastest growing cruise sectors in the country and go down to the Caribbean, go down to Mexico. So for those that have the luxury of a 3-week vacation, which apparently some Europeans do, this is now the complete package in the Gulf Coast, but with New Orleans as the epicenter. And you look at the properties that are coming online here with the Four Seasons going up, one of the top 10 biggest Four Seasons in the country. Viking Cruise Lines is continuing to go forward. They're going to have cruises up and down the river. And I guess I just feel like, Ed, this has taken us from being what we've been for a while, which is a great destination like a Key West. And now we're once again a great global city. And that was our heritage. It's what we should be. And I think it's kind of back to the future.
Exactly. And speaking up to the future, you and I both worked with Delgado on the foundation over there with our chairman, Ashton Ryan. And such good news. Our president over there had some great news at her chancellor breakfast, Joan Davis, and she shared a lot of great information. And you, of course, were a highlight speaker, but just the innovation of what we're doing over there, and then the information that these people, our people, now can get jobs, making good money by going in and retooling, going to Delgado.
Well, the key fact that people have to know is that there are about 20,000 jobs that right now are unfilled for the future, meaning that the projected need is greater than the projected completions. But within that gap, the vast majority, as much as 85%, are middle skill and only require an associate's degree from someplace like Delgado. So there's huge opportunity in energy, in water management, in software, and Delgado is stepping up to help students fill that need. And what I love about the Delgado of today is it's not just the ability to execute, but it's the creativity.
Right.
So for example, we're working on a program now at Delgado to partner with the country of Panama, and we're calling it Delgado in Panama, and it's going to be teaching English to students from Panama that want to improve their English skills. So the combination of innovation plus execution leads to excellence, and I think that's what we're seeing today.
And you just got back from a trip down to Panama. A big contingency from Jefferson Chamber went down there, and with that whole deepening of the canal. And of course, the port is excited because that means that more cargo will be coming through, and they got to stop here in New Orleans when they go everywhere else.
Well, that's right. And actually, the point that was made, I think it might have been Paul Oakland from the Port of South Louisiana, who was with us as well. Or no, actually it was Ray Seaman, that's right, also from the bank.
Right.
And Ray said, we have to stop thinking about the Mississippi, about New Orleans as being the end of the Mississippi, and start realizing that New Orleans is really the nexus of the Americas.
That's
because when you pull back, you've got North America here, South America here, and we sit right in the middle.
That's right.
So that's our geographical advantage, that's our heritage. And so the Panama trip, I think, kind of expanded our thoughts about what's possible.
Okay, I'm going to let you go because I know you're running. What else you got coming up your sleeve?
Just on the airport, we didn't mention we got Condor going to Frankfurt.
Wow.
That starts in May. So we're going to have both London and Germany as of this summer. Frankfurt, Germany. So Frankfurt's the 4th largest airport in all of Europe. So that's tremendously exciting. The airport expansion continues on. So we're going to get a new airport there that is continuing apace. And so I think that even as the rest of the world seemingly is going mad, it looks like Southeast Louisiana and Greater New Orleans, like maybe we're the model.
Exactly. Real quickly, the website, in case people want to get more information from you guys.
Website is gnoinc.org, and you can find me on Twitter for mhechtgno, at mhechtgno.
Exactly. And of course, if you missed the show or you want to tell somebody about the show and they missed it, you can always go to YouTube and upload us, and you'll see me and you'll see Mike. Okay? Mike, thanks for being with us.
Pleasure, my friend. Thank you for having me.
Always. We'll be back with more Money Talks. When we come back, we're going to go to church. Brand new church over in New Orleans East. You may want to get your shouting shoes out because it's going to be big. Literally. We'll be back.
Fridays at 7 p.m. on LAE.
Well, welcome back. New Orleans East is getting a big economic boost in the arm. Hundreds gathered recently at the corner of Crowder Boulevard and I-10 Service Road East to break ground on a new church. It's the new Franklin Avenue Baptist Church. The church will be more than 30,000 square feet, and the pastor of that church is the one and only fantastic fellow, the Reverend Fred Luter. Let's listen to what he has to say.
Us to come out here to New Orleans East, where we're going to build this brand new beautiful sanctuary that you see behind me, which is going to be one of the largest venues in the city of New Orleans. And I have no doubt that when this project is through, it's going to be a blessing from God. Ladies and gentlemen, Pastor Luter and Franklin Avenue Baptist Church cannot, when you look at this project, this is a major project. This is not because of Franklin Avenue, this is because of God. If God has done this thing in our hearts and in our lives, and it's by the tithes and the offerings. We don't have any fundraisers. We're not knocking on the door of the mayor the governor for funds. Everything we do at Franklin Avenue Baptist Church is from the tithes and the offerings of the members of this church. And I praise the Lord for that opportunity.
Officials say that the new structure should be ready for occupancy in about 20 months. Don't go away, because when we come back, we're going to bring you a heartwarming story that you don't want to miss. Stay with us.
Weeknights at midnight on LAE.
Well, we're back with more Monday Talks. You know, education is always key to our program. We love to talk about what's going on in education in our whole metropolitan area. And I have with me a wonderful lady, Lisa, and I'm going to make sure that I pronounce her last name right, Conescu. And Lisa is the CEO of Jefferson Dollars for Scholars. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having us.
We're so happy to have you.
Thank you.
It's been wonderful sitting here just chatting with you. So I want you to share with our audience, kind of walk us back to the beginning of Jefferson Dollars for Scholars and let them know exactly what it does.
Sure. Jefferson Dollars for Scholars serves the public school community of Jefferson Parish. Mm-hmm. And we work with every single school in the school system. So we are a K through 16 impact program. And our goal is to provide educational opportunities to students all along the way, to start talking to them about what their academic and intellectual interests are. Yeah. Some of them when they're as young as in kindergarten, and to work through those interests all the way through college completion.
Yeah. And how do young people get involved? I mean, the parents hear about you. How do they hear about you?
Well, that's we've tied that very neatly into one of our major fundraising programs. Uh-huh. We have a school and family drive every year, and we send out an envelope that communicates a bit about us, and we ask everybody to send us $1 or a few dollars. Uh-huh. And that generates a core of our fundraising every year. And that goes into our what we are now calling our YES Fund for youth education and scholarship.
Okay, and I'm looking here. I don't know. I hope I don't mess up my my producer in the back. Dollars for Scholars. Support the Say Yes Fund, Youth Education Scholarship. I like that.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's pretty concise, and it says exactly what we do. Yeah. So we introduce them to what we do through this annual drive, a dollar collection, which is how Dollars for Scholars started nationally, but that's a whole nother story. Uh-huh. Anyway, that gives the parents a little bit of information, the kids a little bit of information. Every teacher, it goes into every home, and then they actually grow up knowing about our program. Right. And we give summer camp scholarships to elementary and middle school children so that they can begin to explore things they're interested in that on a professional basis with artists and scientists.
Because they probably, you know, with schools the way they are, they really don't get a chance to infuse into some of those areas.
They don't. And if they do, it's through a teacher. It's not through an artist or a scientist.
I remember going, you know, to state for the rallies, the singing and the artists, and so that stuff just is not there. And they, you know, and people, I say, and I'm not, you know, patting wagon, but I always tell people, I guess because my daughter is an artist, that really makes a person well-rounded.
Absolutely, you know? Absolutely, and it makes parents look at their kids differently when they realize that what potential they have. Exactly. So we love to do that because then we have the kids teaching the parents, and then we're also exposing the parents to the scholarship program so that they will raise their kids and go through the whole process knowing there's a college scholarship fund that's dedicated to public school kids in Jefferson Parish. And
I tell people always have something positive to go home and put your head on the pillow for. I'm sure you have lots. You must have wonderful success stories each time.
We have phenomenal stories. We help about 300 students and families every year. Wow. And we've been doing it now for 23 years.
And I bet those kids come back and tell you
They do, wonderful. And we bump into them in funny ways, or they come back to us in funny ways. And some of them we meet when they're in elementary school and they get a summer camp scholarship. We meet them again when they get a college scholarship, and then we bring them back. They want to volunteer, or they want to help us out, or we have some framed dollar bills
That
in
is
the office.
fantastic.
So we have, and they're fabulous success stories for Jefferson Parish.
And for people who want to volunteer, it's like, because we need human capital.
We
out there to
totally
help
do.
us.
We totally do, because we run on a very lean staff.
I know.
And we do an amazing amount of work for the
Yeah.
kids. We also have another program that's designed to help the kids qualify for more scholarships. We give ACT classes and National Merit Review classes so that they can be sure that they qualify for as many things as possible.
Give us that website so people out there saying, hey,
It's
I want to get involved.
Jefferson.dollarsforscholars.org. And we need corporate support, we need individual support, we need planned giving support, we need volunteers. We are never going to run out of kids to help. We're never going to run out of kids.
Well, I
So we
want to
just
personally thank you and the rest of your board for the
Thank
wonderful
you.
things you do.
thank you. We
And,
welcome more people to get involved with it and learn more about us.
That's
so.
great. Well, we're going to have it on the show, and it'll be running the
Terrific.
entire month of November, and they can always go to
great.
YouTube and pull it down
That's
as well.
great, because that's the giving time of year.
That's
so
right.
we really, when you want to give a gift that's going to last forever, help a child go to school.
Appreciate that.
So
Well,
thank you.
for
Thank you
thanking
very
our
much for
audience.
having us. Thank
Okay.
you.
Wonderful, wonderful lady. So you've got to call that website and get involved. We'll be back with more Money Talk, so you stay right there. Hello, I'm Ed Marshall, money coach and host of the Money Talk Show. Our goal each month is to keep you informed on financial issues affecting you and your family. Whether it's concerns about the stock market, mortgages, local community initiatives, or decisions made on Capitol Hill, we do our best to bring you news that you can use. So join me for Money Talks every Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. right here on WLAE. Welcome back. Across America, people are talking about the importance of community colleges. As a matter of fact, you may recall that Michael Heck with Greater New Orleans, Inc. talked about that earlier in our show. Well, those sentiments have also been echoed by our one and only community leader expert, Ashton Ryan Jr. One of our viewers wanted to know about how important those colleges will be in the future of our metropolitan area. So here's Ashton with today's Ask Ashton question.
There's always been a key issue involved with education. You can have general liberal arts type education, which is very valuable because it makes you a well-rounded person and you understand arts and you understand sciences and you understand a lot of things. But at the same time, the market used to train you as you came out of school on the specific skills that you needed. Today, because the expense of training is so high, the market is not doing that anymore. And so the community colleges have become essential to the transition of kids from either high school, not wanting to go to a four-year college, but wanting to get a skill that they can practice and make themselves a decent economic future, or people that took the four-year curriculum, got a liberal arts degree, and find it's very difficult to find jobs that pay a decent wage based on that. So therefore, they're looking for skills. Again, the same issue. Community colleges play that role. I really believe that there's a good match here, and ultimately, we ought to have a seamless delivery system. It shouldn't be a community college and a four-year college. It ought to be kind of put together and operated in a way that the students get both while they're there. They can get a good liberal arts education, but they also can learn a trade of skill and be in a position to be able to command a decent wage when they get out. I think there's plenty of room for doing our education system, restructuring it, and moving into a much more effective device. I think community colleges are critical, but I still say that I still think the four-year graduate is still an outstanding young person that has great knowledge and can grow and learn a lot of things over the years. And I think you don't want to get too short-sighted where you're just training for a particular job and you're not ready to handle the next job. So I think that the combination really would be an ideal thing. We're going to have to blow through some structural issues we got, but I think it'll be good.
Well, thank you, Ashton. And if you have a question for Ashton Ryan, you can get it to him by going to Money Talks with Ed Marshall on Facebook, and we'll be sure to get that question to him. Well, occasionally we come across stories that are truly uplifting and inspiring. Our senior correspondent, Larry Lunsford, has such a story about a young couple that's been fighting a very rare form of cancer, and a very special doctor right here at the LSU Health Science Center in New Orleans. Here's the story.
Mark and Elizabeth Patton are two of the most optimistic people you'll probably ever meet, but they have a lengthy history of fighting an insidious disease that attacked Mark at a very early age.
I was really sick when I was a kid. I had pneumonia a few times, and they always just blamed pneumonia on it. They took me into the hospital when I was 10, 11 years old, and they did a bronchoscopy and laryngoscopy to look in my lungs to make sure they were okay. And right when they got down, they saw that I had a big tumor in my right lung. The course of action that they determined was best was surgery. They removed my right lung, and they followed me doing all kinds of scans and bronchoscopies. And after a few years of that, they deemed me cured. And then when I was 26 years old, I was actually re-diagnosed or found out that I had had carcinoid the entire time. And at that point, it had grown kind of out of control, or as Dr. Woltering likes to say, I was death on a cracker.
That's Dr. Gene Woltering of LSU, quite a humorist and one of the nation's foremost experts on neuroendocrine cancer, a rare and often misdiagnosed family of cancers.
When Mark came to us, he had a very unusual history in that at a very young age, he had a lung or the breathing tube called the bronchus, a bronchial carcinoid. What was interesting was that that tumor had not spread at that point to his liver, but it actually spread to his voice box, his vocal cords, and his epiglottis. Luckily, they decided that they were going to strip his vocal cords, take out and pull the tumor off of his epiglottis rather than taking his voice box out, which would have been a very debilitating thing. In Mark's case, we took 82 tumors out of his liver. We took out a number of tumors throughout that region of the liver, lymph nodes, etc.
Surgery, surgery, surgery are the three main kind of modalities to get rid of carcinoid. So I had 4 surgeries on my false vocal cord. On my, I had a tumor that was blocking about 95% of my airway. So they removed that. Then they went in and they removed 82 tumors from my liver, 1 from my pancreas, and about 11 from my mesentery here at LSU.
That surgery really reopened our lives. We were wondering, would we have kids? Would we have a family? What was going to happen? And after that surgery, I mean, his life, he felt better. He took a while, but he felt better. And since then, that was like a turning point.
Unlike most cancers that you and I think about, breast cancer, colon cancer, pancreas cancer, lung cancer, where they try to cure the cancer, we've realized that with neuroendocrine tumors, the approach is more what I call the Cinderella principle. The clock is ticking towards midnight. We all know what happens when you get to midnight. The prince turns into a big white hairy rat. So you don't ever want the clock to get to midnight, i.e. to die. And so what happens is every time the clock starts to get to 11 o'clock, 11:30, I come in and our team puts the hands of the clock. We don't break the clock, we don't steal the clock, we just keep resetting the clock back to an earlier time. And that's what we do. When we take out tumors, we take you off of the approach to midnight and bring you back to 9 o'clock so you can keep dancing with the beautiful princess.
When I met him, it was approaching midnight, and he's been able to turn back the hands of the clock. So we have to do that every now and again, whether it's surgery or chemo or radiation or what have you, and whether he's the guy for that or someone else. But he's definitely the driver of the bus.
A visitor to the offices of Dr. Woltering and his team will immediately notice the zebra theme, symbolic evidence of an uncommon philosophy toward an uncommon disease.
When you're in medical school, there's so much to learn. You're so overwhelmed. And your professors try to calm you down and say, just think of it this way. Common things are common. When you hear a hoofbeat, what should you think of? You should think of a horse. It's common, but that's not what happens here. If everybody got here because their doctor thought they were a horse, and they're not a horse. They are not common. They don't have a common disease. 1 in 8 women get breast cancer. 1 in a million women get a neuroendocrine tumor. So all my patients know that I call them my zebras. And if you look, all the different support groups send me different zebra support group bracelets. They're all zebras. Again, when I hear a hoofbeat, I know it ain't a horse. I know it got stripes.
Those stripes have brought hope, optimism, and a future to so many, including the Pattons.
We have 3 kids. We have a 7-year-old boy, and then we have 4.5-year-old boy-girl twins. So yeah, we made our family, and you know, Mark always says whenever we're doing something, walking on the beach or hanging out on the couch, he says, I just never thought this would have been my life. I thought this was not in the cards for me. And I'm like, well, you could take it in, because here it is, you know, we have it now, and you're doing good, and that's all that matters. Makes you really realize what's important.
And that, my friends, was a wonderful Thanksgiving story. We are blessed to have so much talent like Dr. Waltrip. We'll be back with more. Stay here.
Wednesdays at 11 p.m. on LAE.
Before we leave you, we say goodbye to Mrs. Wynette Hardy Thompson, who passed on recently. If her face looks familiar, it's because she and her community leader husband, Reverend Norwood Thompson, were actively involved in so many programs to raise the standard of living in the metropolitan area, particularly as it relates to curbing gun violence. Mrs. Thompson was the co-chair of the annual gun buyback program in Orleans Parish as well as Jefferson, and she always was by her husband's side. She would say, if we take just one gun off the streets, we may have saved someone's life, and that in itself is worth the effort. She was also president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference Women's Division, and nationally she assisted the late Coretta Scott King in the formation of the local Dr. M.L. King National Celebration. But more than all of those accolades, Mrs. Wynette Thompson was a wonderful mother, dedicated wife, and a voice for those in her neighborhood that often could not be heard. We will miss her smile, her wonderful fashion sense, and that laugh that let all of us know that we were loved. Well, that's going to do it for our show. We certainly hope you got information you could use. Until next month, do something good for yourself, do something good for someone else, and we'll see you.
Money Talks with Ed Marshall is underwritten by First NBC Bank,